The Zarathi Empire had conquered 17 star systems in the past century. Their crimson warships bore the scars of 1,000 victories, and their four-armed warriors were feared across 3 galactic arms. When their scouts reported a small, agricultural settlement on the rim world of Kepler 442b, Commander Thekval barely glanced at the tactical display. "Humans," he growled, mandibles clicking with disdain. "Soft-skinned mammals. This will be over in minutes." The settlement appeared defenseless, rolling fields of golden grain stretching to the horizon, a handful of modest buildings, and perhaps 50 inhabitants going about their daily routines. No orbital defenses, no military installations, just farmers tending their crops under the pale blue sun. Thekval's invasion force consisted of 3 assault cruisers and 200 elite shock troops, more than enough to pacify a farming community that probably had never seen real warfare. The Zarathi had protocols for such encounters: swift occupation, resource extraction, and integration into their ever-expanding empire. But as the first Zarathi dropships descended through Kepler 442b's atmosphere, old Jake Morrison was already reaching for his communicator. Jake had been farming this land for 30 years, ever since he'd mustered out of the Terran colonial marines. His weathered hands moved with practiced efficiency as he activated the emergency beacon buried beneath his barn. The signal would take 18 hours to reach the nearest human naval base, but Jake wasn't particularly worried about timing. The Zarathi warriors poured from their landing craft in perfect formation, plasma rifles ready, expecting cowering civilians. Instead, they found Jake standing calmly in his cornfield, a piece of straw hanging from his mouth. "You folks lost?" Jake called out, his voice carrying the lazy drawl of someone who'd seen enough violence for 3 lifetimes. Thekval strode forward, his powered armor gleaming in the afternoon sun. At nearly 8 feet tall, with 4 muscular arms and razor-sharp claws, he was an imposing figure that had sent countless species fleeing in terror. "Surrender, human! Your world now belongs to the Zarathi Empire." Jake spat into the dirt and adjusted his worn baseball cap. "Well now, that's a problem. See, this here's my land. Been in my family for generations. Don't take kindly to trespassers." The Zarathi commander's laugh was a harsh bark. "You dare threaten us? We are the apex predators of this galaxy. Your pathetic species?" Jake's shotgun appeared in his hands, so quickly that several Zarathi warriors stepped back in surprise. The blast took Thekval's center mass, the specialized rounds punching through his armor like tissue paper. The mighty commander crumpled to the earth, green blood pooling beneath him. "Rule number 1, Jake said conversationally, pumping another shell into the chamber. "Don't threaten a man's family or his land." What followed was not a battle in any conventional sense. It was a masterclass in asymmetric warfare delivered by farmers who'd spent decades perfecting their craft on one of the galaxy's most dangerous frontier worlds. The Zarathi discovered that human agricultural equipment made excellent improvised weapons. Combine harvesters became mobile fortresses, their rotating blades shredding through alien infantry. Irrigation systems had been modified to pump industrial-grade pesticides, creating choking clouds of toxic death. Even the livestock joined the fight. The colonists had imported Terran animals genetically modified for frontier conditions, and the result was 1,000-pound bulls with reinforced skulls and territorial instincts that made them natural siege engines. But it was the farmers themselves who proved most deadly. These weren't soft civilians cowering from superior technology. These were military veterans who'd chosen agriculture as their second career, people who'd fought in the Proxima, Centauri Campaign and the Siege of New Edinburgh. They knew the land like their own heartbeat, had spent years preparing for exactly this scenario. Sarah Chen, a former naval intelligence officer turned hydroponics specialist, coordinated the defense from her greenhouse. Marcus Webb, an ex-Marine sniper who now grew prize-winning tomatoes, picked off Zarathi officers from camouflaged positions throughout the valley. The Johansson twins, demolitions experts turned dairy farmers, turned their milk trucks into rolling bomb factories. Within 6 hours, the mighty Zarathi invasion force was scattered, demoralized, and desperately calling for reinforcement. Their advanced technology meant nothing against enemies who knew every hiding spot, every escape route, every weakness in their own defensive perimeter. The reinforcements arrived just as the first human naval vessels dropped out of hyperspace. Admiral Chen, Sarah's younger sister, surveyed the battlefield from the bridge of the dreadnought Indomitable and allowed herself a small smile. "Status report? Ground control?" Jake's voice crackled over the comm system. "Pest control complete, Admiral, though they did trample my North 40. Gonna have words with someone about compensation." The Zarathi survivors were processed according to Terran colonial code. Those who had participated in illegal military action against civilian targets faced war crimes tribunals. The rest were released with a simple message for their empire. Human farmers were off limits. Within a month, the story had spread throughout the galaxy. The mighty Zarathi Empire, conquerors of 17 star systems, had been routed by a handful of agricultural workers. Other aggressive species began giving human settlements a much wider berth. Jake Morrison went back to farming his corn, though he did install a few more early warning systems around the property. His grandson would inherit not just the land, but the knowledge that sometimes the most dangerous warriors were the ones who'd learned to tend rather than destroy. And in the capital cities of a dozen warlike empires, military strategists updated their threat assessments. Next to human military forces, they added a new category: human civilians. The recommended response for both was identical: avoid at all costs.